So my friends, looks like there's a gentleman on social media, I'm not going to say his name, he's claiming to be I believe him, let's say, that he's a Persian Jew, and that, basically what he's looking for, he was looking for equality for Jews who are not Mizrahim, to treat people like him as equals. And supposedly, allegedly, we do not do that. And then he goes on to say that Ashkenazi Jews, I guess he's talking about the ones in America, are elitists and they're elite, and they don't treat Sephardim like equals. My friends, I am a Jew who was born in the former Soviet Union. Technically Ashkenazi Jew, as far as I know. It's entirely possible we have some Sephardi people in our family, in our lineage, but as far as I know, Ashkenazi. My father's family is from Berdichev, if you guys ever heard of Levi Yitzhak of Berdichev. I don't know if we're related to him, but my father's father was born there. My mother's family is from Kiev, in the Kiev area. My parents were born in Lvov. This is after the war. So as far as we know, we're Ashkenazim, but as far as I know, the second thing I know, apart from all the things I just told you, is that on our Soviet passport, under what's called the fifth line, they call it Pятая линия, under nationality, it said Jew, right? So what does that mean? It means that we were essentially second-class citizens. We were treated as second-class citizens. Now, some Soviet Jews may come and say, "Tzvi, what are you talking about? We weren't. Maybe you weren't, but we were." Depends who you were. Depends where you were, who you were, right? By and large, Jews were treated as second-class citizens in the Soviet Union. One example is they had to get higher grades than anybody else, and they may be admitted to university. They may, be able to get a job and so forth, certain places. They may, or they may not. So, my friends, we were second-class citizens, right? So this Persian guy talks about how they were second-class citizens. Okay, they were second-class citizens, and yet he also mentioned that his father or his grandfather served for the Shah. So I don't know how second-class citizen that was, but let's just say, by and large, Sephardim were second-class citizens in a unique way. Sorry, guys. I like dogs, but I don't like being I like dogs, but I don't like being chased by them. There's a big difference. Anyway, speaking of so guys, let's just assume that they were second-class citizens, even though, and I'm not minimizing what they experienced living under Islam, under Arabs. But they had wealth. They did have wealth. Just like Jews in any other country had wealth. With that said, guys, when my parents and I left the Soviet Union in 1987, we were not allowed to take anything with us except for our clothes on our backs and other clothes that we owned, maybe a few pots and pans, basically suitcases. And no money, almost no money. Came to America with $300. Right? Folks, on the way to America, we had to live in Austria for a little bit, in Vienna, and then we lived in Italy for about 2 or 3 months. In Italy, there were Persian Jews there with us, passing through as well. We lived in a place called Ladispoli, which is like an hour away from Rome, on the west coast of Italy, right? People know the name. There were a couple places people lived. Ladispoli, Santa Marinella. We lived in Ladispoli. So these Persian Jews saw us and they said, "Are you guys sure you're Jews?" And we're like, "Yeah." "Why do you ask that question?" They're like, "Seriously, you guys are Jews?" They literally were like doubting that we're Jewish. When we were taking offense to it, my parents told me the story, right? I was a kid. They're like, what do you mean? And the Persian Jews respond, "Well, it's interesting because, like, where's all your money?" Folks, what do they mean by that? Well, apparently Persian Jews were allowed to take their wealth. I don't know how much wealth, but some of their wealth with them by the Ayatollah. They were escaping the Ayatollah. This is, again, guys, this is 1987. So it's possible that they were second-class citizens, right? Actually, they probably were. But they were allowed to take things with them. Wealth, money. Folks, we were not. The Soviet Union did not allow us to do that. So I just want to tell this gentleman, Mr. whoever you are, there have been Jews, different types of Jews, of different persuasions, living in different parts of the diaspora, who were second-class citizens in various different ways. The people you are referring to who are quote-unquote elitist Jews, it happens to be that they're Ashkenazim, but that's not why they're elitist. And a lot of them, the ones you're referring to, the ones who are not treating Sephardim as equals, are actually what's called Arav. I'm sure you know, Arav in the Torah are the mixed multitude, the people who left with Egypt with us, the people whom Moshe Rabbeinu allowed to leave with us, and they're the ones who got us to do the golden calf. Basically, they're the ones who brought us all the troubles, right? Anytime you hear anti-Semites talking about it, quote-unquote, the Jews do this and the Jews do that, and if you just uncover or just look into what the heck they're talking about, unbeknownst to them, unbeknownst to the anti-Semite, he's referring to Arav Rav. Arav Rav are the ones who make the rest of us look awful, god awful. They're the ones who pull us away from Torah. They're the ones who pull us away from mitzvot. They're the ones who are blocking the Geulah, the redemption. Our sages explain in the Zohar that nothing delays the redemption more. No one delays the redemption more than the Arav Rav, not even Ishmael. We are in the Galut of Ishmael. That is correct. Folks, but look around you. Who is it that enables Ishmael? Who is it that enables our enemies? It's the Arav Rav, right? Open Society Foundations, New Israel Fund, Peace Now, Arav Rav, my friends. So it just so happens that a majority of those people come from, they have Ashkenazi last names. They are Jews in name only. They are Ashkenazim in name only. Because a lot of them did come from Europe, from Frankist / Sabbatean stock. That's where the Frankist movement took hold. Even though Shabtai Tzvi, ended up in like Turkey, and his assistant was a man by the name of, speaking of Gaza, Nathan of Gaza. Folks, this Gaza place keeps coming up, huh? It's a story for another time. So, yeah, my friends, don't put all Ashkenazim in one basket, just like don't put all Sephardim in one basket. Don't divide Jews. Essentially, we're all coming from the same place. We were all kicked out of Israel. We scattered among the nations. Some of us went here, some of us went there, some of us went before or after the first temple to places like Yemen. My favorite Jews. I get along well with Yemenites for some reason. It's they're no-nonsense people, you know, and they're not fake. Again, a story for another time. So, yeah, my friends. So don't get it twisted, Mr. Persian man. Don't get it twisted. You know, the Soviet Jews, you have all kinds of Jews who lived in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of places, and still continue to live, you know, not necessarily privileged or white. And everything we do have, and everything we have accomplished and amassed, we did it. We busted our ass. The Soviet Jews came to America. We had nothing. And, you know, my generations, our parents basically beat us into performing, right? Whether physically or verbally. Just verbally, right? They just, you know, straight up, you know, if you don't do this, you're going to be a failure. If you don't do this, you're going to be a loser. If you don't do this, you're going to live on the streets. So, we did it. I guess, some of us. Some more than others, right? Some of us created Google. And some of us, you know, made Aliyah and drove our family crazy. Again, a story for another time. So, the best thing to do is to not generalize. That's actually the best thing to do in this situation, Mr. Persian man. Don't generalize, you know. Sit down, learn some history. Because in this particular case, when you assume and when you generalize, you make an ass out of you and me. And actually all of us. And on top of that, you enable all these wonderful people who are coming out of every hole, literal hole, rat hole, as you could see. Tucker Carlson, Catarlson, Nick Fuentes, the gay Mexican. I had to say that for comedic effect, I guess. It's funny to me, so I don't really care if it's funny to you or anybody else. It's funny to me. That's the most important thing. That's what I'm learning in life, you know? You gotta just make yourself laugh. If everybody else is offended, okay, that's nice. So, we have all these people. Don't enable them. Do not enable them. You're enabling them. Sit down, learn some history, speak to a few people, and open up your world, man. Open up your world. The world is not just America and New York Jewry. The world is big, man. There's Jews in France, there's Jews in England, you know, Argentina. You know what I'm saying, man? Jews all over the place. It's not so simple as you make it out to be. It's not so cut and dry. It's not so linear. It's not so one-dimensional. The Jewish people are not one-dimensional. That's part of why we're hated, because nobody can pin us down and figure out what the hell we are, right? Like the famous thing, we're capitalists, we're socialists, we're poor, we're rich. We are, we have the Torah, so we're whatever, exclusive, but we also assimilate too much, right? We're this and we're that. We're hated in contradictions. We're hated for things that don't even exist. So, my friend, you seem like an intelligent guy, but either you're just pretending to be ignorant, or it's entirely possible that somebody sent you to do this, or you just went nuts. You went crazy. Either way, the Soviet Jews, or this Soviet Jew, when he was on the way to America, the Persian Jews were asking him, "Hey, where's your money? Are you Jewish? Are you sure you're Jewish?" So the question I ask, man, who's privileged here? I don't know. Depends who you ask, when you ask. That's the Jewish people for you. Things change, my friend. In a month and a half, the Jews of the city of New York, it doesn't matter if we're Persian, Syrian, Hasidic, secular, religious, Soviet, Boharian, Dagestani, Kafkazi, whatever, right? A new pharaoh was going to come in. He did not know Yosef. Who does not know Yosef? And then we'll see who's privileged and who isn't. Then we'll see if it even matters. I will wager that it won't. All right, my friends. Laila Tov.